We're
All right,
live.
we're live. Yeah, here we are. Melissa, would you like to do our intro video?
That's Kat McDavitt. That's Lisa Berry, I guess.
We guess.
Talk show.
Yeah, and next time Melissa might sing. We don't know. She's going to do our intro video.
Yeah.
I have an update. Lovely Michael Mertant and I have a scheduled meeting next Friday, and he is going to video me being absolutely ridiculous, and then he's going to like edit it and then make it into a bunch of different opportunities and options for you all to vote on.
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow.
Great.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That is a high energy, enthusiastic bit of news. We were very excited. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so today, what's our lineup? So it's the post-election hangover show. We promised you we would be hungover probably either way. I believe we are more hungover today than expected. Lisa is definitely on the no energy spectrum, but you know what? Like that's when we amazing things can happen. I am trying to be positive and moving forward. And Melissa she's doing the same thing. So we have a super special news show for you. It's mostly focused on the state of our nation moving forward. We have our real special guest, our real exciting special guest, Dr. Yubin Park, is going to be on for the second half, and he's going to tell us if value-based care is real. I've heard that he knows something about math. He knows, well, I don't know. He might do something. Michael from Arcadia, just so you know, we do have a special image that we heard was sourced from you later on in the show, so stay tuned. TBD. But we hear Yubin actually knows stuff and also knows how to do math, so he can tell us if math is real. But we're going to be joined for this special news show by dear friend and acknowledged communist, Mr. Scott Stewie from Direct Trust. So here he is. So Scott, I think all of our 12 fans know you, but you should introduce yourself for the people who don't.
For real.
Oh, well, so as you'll see, if you've ever been on Zoom with me before, I'm not sporting my Direct Trust background because I thought maybe this is more Scott Stewie talking than Direct Trust.
Just Scott Stewie. No,
just Scott Stewie. Scott Stewie. Yeah. But I am president in my alter ego is as president and CEO of Direct Trust, where I oversee a group of volunteers and staff that are trying to make healthcare interoperability great.
Nice.
Actually, for the first time.
Not again. Yeah.
Not again. Just.
We're still trying to get to great. We're still trying to get to great.
No, but we want great. We just don't. I wouldn't say that it was ever really too great. Just saying.
I wouldn't say we were trying.
But we are trying. We're all really trying hard. But anyway.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah, that's great. And so I think how this all happened is Lisa and I were actually hungover on Wednesday morning, sitting in my hotel room in Phoenix at the Behavioral Health Tech Conference. And I think Scott started texting and we were like, he should just come on the show.
He should just come on the show. That's fine. Just bring him
on. So Scott's here for the news show. He's going to be a guest commentator. So just before we jump into the state of our nation, we were at Solomé Tibabu's Behavioral Health Tech Conference in Phoenix. It was awesome, just like it was last year. I think it's the second year that it's been in person. We had some fun stuff. We did a pop-up health tech talk show, as you can see in the upper left, with beautiful Melissa Danino freezing her butt off, being a bouncer and doing stuff, and lined up, I think, 10 guests within 4 hours or something. So it was actually a pretty good show. It's a long one, but you can find it on our website or the many other platforms.
We should edit things, because I feel like if we cut those into actual segments, they would be great. They were great conversations.
I'm sure we could convince someone who knows how to do that for free as a donation to the Health Tech Talk Show. But we could probably figure that.
I know a guy
loyal fans
who is our special correspondent. And
special correspondent.
I feel like he could do it.
Oh, yes. Speaking of, here he is. Yeah. We got Michael Marchant as well. Oh my gosh, everybody is here today. So, Michael, I'm sorry. Michael, introduce yourself too, because I'm not sure. I think at least half of our loyal fans know who you are, but tell the rest of them.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure. This is my first time in StreamYard. So, again, I'm Michael Marchant. I'm the special correspondent for the Health Tech Talk Show. I have a segment called Mike on the Street, where I interview interesting people about interesting subjects. A lot of TEFCA talk of late, but really here for the election and to apologize to all my loyal followers and listeners that I did not, as a old white man, do more and raise my voice higher to help support all of the issues that are important to all the women, powerful, strong, leading women in my life. And I'm here to reconcile with them as best I can as we move forward. So nice to meet everybody.
Yeah, that's like, all right. Okay. Well, apology accepted. Right, Michael, I'm gonna take you off for a minute. We're gonna bring you back on when we're talking about TEFCA, which I don't you missed the preview, so we'll surprise you with this graphic that we allegedly have sourced from Michael from Arcadia. Okay, so that was great. We had a great time there. Okay, you guys. So I mean, we can talk about the big issue, which is that we have a new president, but like maybe we just dive into healthcare because it's a health tech talk show. So just tell us, you two, tell me what you think about Maha.
I mean, listen. So first and foremost, like the word on the street is that no, RFK Jr. is not going to be the HHS secretary or the CDC director. There are actual, much more serious people who are much more credible people in healthcare who are likely going to be getting those jobs. We may or may not know a few things, and we're excited about some of the people on that list who seem like some interesting people we may have worked with before, and maybe not people we know. So that's great. Sure hope that those are the people. I sure hope that's the real list or one of the real lists. With these like administration changes, there's like lists miles long, and everybody
so many
like,
lists.
All the influencers are shopping their list around, and that's probably no different here. But some of the names you've heard have not been bad, and we are hopeful that those people get some jobs really soon because they are not this dude. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah, I do think they're going to give him some job, somewhere in the healthcare sphere. But Scott, what do you think?
Well, I wonder if I mean he's sort of he kind of likes the limelight, and I think that he's not going to be a fan, not going to be making any friends with with Donald. He's just too much wanting to be in the front.
He's a showboat.
He's a showboat.
Showboat.
I think showboats historically have not fared very well very long. So
nope.
I don't think that. I think this is even true for Mr. Musk, who's going to frankly eclipse Donald once too many times, and that'll be that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, we saw that last time.
Yeah. There's both of those people are big showboats, love attention, love to do things, sometimes just for the reaction, and that's not going to fly with what we know of this forming administration. So yay. One thing I was talking about with a friend who will remain anonymous is how, of course, just like in the previous Trump administration, there could be some things that happen that are, unexpected and positive. For example, should pharmaceutical companies be able to advertise directly to consumers? Maybe not. And maybe the Maha movement will end up stopping the pharmaceuticals advertising to consumers. Crazy.
Yeah. So I feel like my job on the show is going to be to talk about like some of the opportunity we have here moving forward, right? Because like there are some interesting things in this agenda. There are some ridiculous things, but there are some interesting things. Yeah. One is like, we do have like food problems. We do have conflict of interest problems. We do have some issues like that. And, like focusing on chronic disease in certain scientifically backed ways would not be the worst thing ever. But there's like a lot going on here.
There was an important point there you said, which was scientifically backed ways. And that's the thing that's at risk here, unfortunately. I also like not getting listeria, for example, which is something that regulation around food systems has helped us with in the past, but is very much at risk if you like say to the FDA, like lighten up on that food safety enforcement. Like listeria is a big deal. People die from it all the time. So, I like not getting listeria.
True. Also, if you read this article, if you guys are Stat Plus subscribers, I think it might be, there's a couple of articles out of paywall, but the people who may be in this circle are very interesting humans. Like they're like Instagram influencers and stuff. So yeah, IDK, y'all, interesting stuff. But anyway, so we'll see what happens with Maha or however we're saying it. Then AI policy, right? We just got Mickey Tripathi just pulled a move and got the ASTP going on. He's the acting chief AI policy officer or whatever, and they're hiring for this position. I don't think it's been announced. Sam,
Sorry, Sam.
What's up, Sam? But here's the thing: we have Elon Musk, who apparently is going to be in charge of all AI policy. So, curious what you guys think about how this affects HHS AI.
You already said this though, which is that the funniest thing as well that could happen from Elon being in charge of AI policy is like the end of OpenAI, because he hates Sam Altman and he has an axe to grind.
I don't know either of those guys. We're not friends, but I have seen like a lot of spite come out of these rich entrepreneurs, and I would imagine I could see a world where Elon Musk would put forth some policy changes that would squash his competitors.
Could happen.
And not feel bad about it. But the other thing that's interesting is
I don't think that I can't imagine if there's a list and people to cut and people to chop, which is what we are hearing. Sorry, HHS friends, there are lists forming as we speak. And I can't imagine they would say we got to keep this role in. That doesn't make I don't buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I really buy what the Politico article had with Jody Daniel, who's actually a key person for us.
A real person.
Yeah. But Jody's comment was that she sees this, the most likely impact is that HTI2, which has all this expansion of exposure to things like public health and payers, that probably comes right the heck out, because it's that stuff just even to pretty progressive people who I know, that seemed like an overreach. That seemed like it was expanding the scope of ONC regulatory authority. And I think that's the kind of thing that'll be easy for them to immediately say, not so much. And since it's a proposed rule,
including me on this very show, recently said that it was overreach. So, yes. And as you know, Scott, our political persuasions are more similar than different. And so if I'm saying that, you did some overreach. Wow.
Yeah, I think
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say too, props to ONC for that overreach. As someone who does not believe in consensus-based business leadership, I apply those to the government probably inappropriately. And I was like, well, yeah, what a scoop, right? I don't actually know if it was good for America, but I was impressed with the political maneuvering. So, there's that. But so what's interesting, so this article in Fierce is talking about how AI will likely not have as much regulation as it did under the Biden administration. However, we've also read that Elon Musk is very pro-regulatory for AI just because he thinks it's super dangerous and he wants to squash OpenAI. So I don't really actually know what's going to happen here because, all signs point everywhere.
Yeah, so AI is so early too. It's like you can't even figure out what. Most people don't even quite understand what it is, and so and I think leading on that list are probably legislators who have a minimal understanding of this stuff. They're going to have to hire some folks because of that the regulatory stuff that happened last year, or that ruling that happened last year. It says that they're going to have to actually get it right before they send it to the rulemaking engine, because the rule makers don't get to rule anymore. They actually have
because of Chevron doctrine.
Because of Chevron,
they have to be really specific.
They say now they have to actually be really specific. So they got to hire smart people, the best people. They're going to have to hire the best people in actually working for the legislators as opposed to working for the agencies.
Well, good news, because OpenAI has lost pretty much every single senior leader in the last month or two.
So they can go work there.
They can go work there. So this is what I'll say that I just want to if you work in AI safety or AI research, as it's called sometimes, and you have been on a podcast in the last 3 to 6 months, and you have said the words that we want smart regulation on AI. First of all, smack yourself in the face. Literally, just turn around, just go smack yourself in the face. Never speak again. But also, what they're doing, what they're saying is they're saying, oh, we know how dangerous this is. We see things that you dumb consumers with your dumb, Chat GPT subscription or whatever don't see. And we're telling you this thing is way further along. We want regulation, but smart regulation. But we should get regulation. Where are those regulators? Again, smack yourself in the face, because that is some BS. Like, take your hands out of the cookie jar, step back. You can stop this. Besides,
I can write a prompt that could produce really great regulation.
Thank you. Smack.
We have some AI generated images in this PowerPoint deck. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so AI policy TBD. I don't know. We'll see what happens. CDC is going to get split in two.
I'm going to be really specific. That was actually me being snarky and being mean about Miles Brundage, who was like the head of research at OpenAI, who quit like 2 weeks ago. That guy, the interview I heard with him on Hard Fork, which is the second best podcast show, live show about tech policy in the world after the Health Tech Talk Show, obviously. Bullshit. Like, seriously, Miles Brundage, I do not like you, sir. Okay, continue.
Yeah, boom. All right, CDC is getting split in two, and they will no longer be handling anything non-infectious. Thoughts?
The building's already split in two. They're all set.
Yes, but yep.
Right.
I mean,
Great.
Yeah.
Right.
This seems bad. If you work at the CDC, this seems bad.
It does, but also if you live in America or the world, it seems bad because diseases don't care about anything, don't care about any borders, who you are. They certainly affect people more who have fewer resources and are poorer and sicker, but they definitely can affect everybody. And so, yeah, like, I don't love bird flu, which, by the way, is kicking off right now in Washington State, just an FYI. So,
Yep.
Cool.
Yep, it's real. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I'm into like changing things to make them better. There have been a lot of experts talking about why this is like really, really a bad idea. And then I believe the advocates for splitting it come back and say, well, we would reallocate those programs that are non-infectious to other parts of HHS. That just still seems quite disruptive. So yeah.
So there are some aspects, and I'm not taking their side, but I want to say that there are some things about the way the CDC operates, and it's not their fault. It's because of their mandate. That is actually pretty problematic. Like, they can't do anything from a budgetary standpoint. Like, if they have money to spend that isn't spent on something that was specifically earmarked to do X, they can't use it for Y. They can't do they have no control over the budget at all. And in fact, even if they want to expand the scope of something, it's very difficult for them to do it. They have no internal control. They're like, they're just a slave to the legislation. And so that's, I think it would be great if it were given a little bit more autonomy. Of course, I'm not sure that's what they have in mind. But anyway, it's actually a bit bound up even within itself, the way it is today.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's some changes that could be made to make it better. Not sure those are the changes we're going to see here. And I think we have to see who the secretary is, and who the CDC director is going to be. I mean, it could be some people who are gloriously competent, for all we know. So, I'll probably help this Paragon Health Institute. We're showing up everywhere.
And which of these things can actually be done without congressional approval? And I think actually there's a certain number of moderate Republicans still on the planet, and some of them actually even still work in the House and Senate. So who knows whether this stuff can even happen.
True.
Yeah.
In terms of other agencies getting fucked, the NIH is likely going to get screwed.
Yeah, this is a really bad one because another bad one because there many of them are bad. The problem here, and whether it's fair, it's the right structure, NIH funds so much critically important research. And you could say maybe that, the for-profit pharmaceutical companies who use that research and commercialize it should be paying more or should be, contributing more in different ways. That's an argument I'd be willing to have, or debate I'd be willing to have. But the amount of research that NIH does in its various different divisions is just so important. Like, one of the things about American healthcare is that we have, for the richest people, incredible amounts of innovation, pharmaceuticals, devices, like advanced genomic stuff, all that cool stuff. And that's because we spend a lot of money on this type of like leading edge research. This is like very top of funnel, and then it becomes commercialized in different ways way further down the funnel. It affects the entire world. And so, you know, if we want to keep having those like cool, innovative things and like best possible, and keep curing diseases, like cures, you know, for sickle cell and whatever, you name it, those things are all because of this kind of research. So little concerned.
Totally. Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think it's just, again, the question is, can they actually do these things?
Right.
I'm hopeful. People say, okay, all the guardrails are off. You know, the guardrails are not entirely off. I think once people actually start working with these people, you know, they actually, you know, develop a conscience, some of them. So at least historically. So hopefully,
Right.
Hopefully this stuff doesn't all just happen quickly. I think it's going to take quite a fight.
Yeah, and I do think there's some of the good stuff here is that Trump has been president before. People know what they're getting into a little bit more. They know it's going to be chaotic. They're hopefully going to get people in there who understand how to be an operator a little bit more. So there's some hope here. So, but what do we think about ONC, y'all? Like, or ASTP? What do we think is going to happen? I believe, I am not totally sure, and he'll have to tell us if it's true in comments. We have heard this image, which has been circulating broadly, is from Michael Musi that he made with the AI.
Well, this is obviously made with AI because it can barely handle writing, as we know. It's amazing. Like letters are too hard for AI. So yes, amazing.
5 letters sometimes will work for AI. Yeah, like that.
That's right.
So I personally think that it's, you know, like lots of talk on LinkedIn today about whether, you know, the ONC ASTP just like it's shot in the head, or not Mickey personally, but I mean just the organization.
Yeah. Abolish.
But I mean,
No.
I don't think that that's likely. I think I do think, however, TEFCA is definitely at risk of at least being slowed down. I think that the thing about TEFCA is that you can find a lot of people who don't think it was a great idea to begin with. You know, smart, not conservative people, very, you know, some of my closest liberal friends say it was bad policy to begin with. And and I think it's, you know, as a architect, you know me, I'm an architect, I'm not an architect, but architecture is not great architecture either. It's a big string of pearls. It's a big mess. So I'm actually, I actually think that there is a likelihood that TEFCA will at least get a pretty serious reduction in BTUs. I'm not sure that it'll get completely powered down, but I think it's going to get. And using Don Rucker as an example, I mean, he slow played TEFCA through the entire first Trump administration, and after he left, he was openly anti-TEFCA. Like he just, you know, thinks he does, however, believe that you can use fire to build anything at all, like battleships and, you know, and spaceships and.
He is a booster of fire for sure.
He is. Thinks that the entire healthcare system can operate as a single, you know, Borg entity. But I don't actually buy that. But I mean, I don't think that TEFCA's death is likely. I think it is possible though that TEFCA could spin down, and if it does, I think what happens is not the dissolution of this, but just the 1/2 step back, which is just care, quality, and Commonweal again, which is just not a very hard thing to understand. We were there, you know, 6 months ago. So that wouldn't be a terrible thing. In fact, arguably that might even be a step forward, despite what seems like a step back.
Yeah, what I've heard is that TEFCA is too young and fledgling to fly to the nest without a shepherd like Mickey Tripathi, who really has been carrying the water for it. So it might not go away. It depends on if someone hates it enough to kill it. Or does someone just not care enough and let it dry out? Like don't water the plants type of situation.
And I think that's the worst outcome. If that happens, that's actually worse than you know, shooting it or you know, just or continuing to support it full-throatedly. I think the worst outcome is actually just this sort of, we're going to putter along for another 6 months trying to sort of kind of do it, which means that you're going to have two empty highways that lead to the same city, going parallel to each other. Like it's just really sad because we've been working on this for a long time.
Scott, that's actually like the perfect analogy for this. I think that's the biggest risk right now, is that you literally have for 6 months two empty highways leading to the same city. Nobody's traveling. There's no initiatives to build it up. There's no commitment. Why would anyone invest any of their limited development time in this? That's the risk, right? That's actually more than the idea that anybody would try to kill it. It's the risk is it's just like, well, why would we invest right now? Why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then for some people that'll actually, suit them, right. that it died a death that meant that they didn't have to do anything at all, as opposed to do, something that they were already doing, which, if it were explicit, it said, okay, don't do that, do this other thing, the thing you were doing before. I don't think that, I worry that won't happen. And what we'll end up doing instead is just sort of, we're already kind of in that state even before this happened because of the particle stuff, which slowed everybody down and said, okay, wait a minute, we should talk about the vetting SOP, which I'm not sure it's actually hit the street yet, has it?
Michael, do you know? I've seen it. I know what you're talking about.
I just heard.
I know where it was. It was on stage at the Commonwealth Conference. I wasn't there, but it was posted. And if it was on stage there, it must be public or pseudo public. So there you go.
The QNs are talking about it, but it's so at a QN event, you're hearing about it, and so there's going to be a vetting process for participants, well, for sub-participants even. To determine whether or not they're worthy of a given use case. It's going to be a lot of work. And I think it's, so people have a lot of concern about it. And it's a response to, the particle discussion, I think in part, but it seems like it's the kind of extra weight that will cause this thing to, potentially sputter and snarl. Like an engine with a lot of carbon in it.
Mm-hmm. An engine with a lot of carbon in it. Michael, what do you think?
I think it's going to depend on who's in the office. I think we've seen over the last few years that Mickey has really pushed the agenda on TEFCA. Yes. And if we get somebody in the office that continues to believe that's the right direction, they'll continue to push and be on the road and talking to everybody they can and showing up, in every city with the conference and the audience talking interoperability to kind of push that agenda. And I think as much as the office, as it's been elevated to assistant secretary status has more gravitas, I think that, who the administration puts in that role and whatever happens after that, it's going to drive it. I do agree that there's some reticence to move forward with the vagaries of what is going to happen. But, Epic did put a stake in the ground and say, listen, we're going to have all of our customers moving over and they're pressing the agenda. And again, I know Scott brought up particle. I mean, the lawsuit is about monopoly. And if Epic is a monopoly, finger quotes, whatever that really means, then they're going to drive some of that agenda too. And if they're on board with this, then I think their just literal weight and customer base can push this forward in and of itself. And maybe just drag everybody else along. So, there's lots of variables, but I don't think it's as sputtering as Scott's lawnmower. But I do think that
I've got an electric lawnmower, Mike.
Sorry. Okay, we can come up with another item that's going to sputter. But at the end of the day, I think that the industry is moving forward with TEFCA because of some of the concerns. If governance is done correctly and they can address what is treatment and who should participate and actually give some avenues for other participants to join through those other purposes of use, I think we'll continue to see momentum, especially if people continue to lose trust with the existing framework in care quality. The RC is the same. So that's my take.
Yeah, it's interesting, looking back now, it's relevant for both of our impromptu guests here. It's interesting looking back at the timing of the Oracle Health announcement, because probably no secret or surprise that Larry Ellison, has been a big supporter of President Trump, and that SEMA firm obviously served in his administration as a CMS administrator. So I would imagine that they, as an organization, as a company, are very, very tied in. And so for them to make that announcement before the election, no matter how confident they felt, who knows? Like, that is an interesting signal about what they think and what maybe they expect to happen.
It is interesting.
You're talking about you're talking about them being QHIN, not them launching some new AI product, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
we already made fun of that.
LOL.
We already did that.
I'm talking about the QHIN announcement. Yes.
Yeah, so I had an opportunity, heard from the stage at Commonwealth, also just in talking to Sam Lamson from Oracle. It sounds to me as though the biggest thing for them is they want a seat at the table, not with a layer of indirection from. They didn't want to be disintermediated by Commonwealth in conversations about governance, which that I understand. That makes sense to me. They just want to be a full player. I think the other question is, I wonder if some of the HRs will actually, given the nature of the change experience, want a backup. I think that's the question of whether or not
I've also heard.
QHIN.
Yeah, I've also heard that you can now have more than one QHIN for different purposes of use. So I think that could land with. Listen, we're still waiting for the end of how many QHINs are going to be the right number, because to me there's market segments today that aren't addressed with the existing inventory of QHINs that are publicly, it's EHR vendors. So where's the insurance company QHIN? And somebody might say SureScripts is it or something else, but there are definitely other participants that are going to need an on-ramp to the new TEFCA network that don't exist today or aren't aware that they could be the on-ramp, which will create more competition and more opportunity. So
I'm just sighing and laughing because, talk about creep of an idea. Talk about an idea that was meant to be pretty darn simple, and it now it has merged and evolved and morphed and grown more tentacles. This is the kind of thing that someone like Kat would say is regulatory overreach, even though it is sub-regulatory technically. So,
I applaud this effort.
This is the applause.
My question is just, does this work at this scale? Can you have we have 10?
No, architecturally, no, it doesn't work.
I think the revenue model needs to get figured out. This is not a free market thing where you can make money. It's one of those weird things where you have to really think about money.
I don't know. I think somebody's going to figure out how to. Maybe on the back end, secondary use, Well,
it's the data is just going to get cheaper. It's going to get cheaper, and then someone's going to figure out a bunch of ways to make money. I've tried to figure out how to make TEFCA make money for years, y'all. And I do have a small lady brain, but I haven't figured it out.
Health Data Network.
Freedom Health Data Network, which is not dead.
The problem is if we don't actually get to your second guest's nirvana. Yeah, right? If we don't get to the point where there is, in fact, if people are actually paying for value as opposed to paying for work, then interoperability is counterproductive. It's an unnatural act. It's swimming upstream. It is not. There is no economic value in a fee-for-service model to interoperate with my competitors. Zero. It's actually anti-competitive. It's anti. I have no interest in it. I'm running screaming.
But it's valuable for my insurance company to not have to pay for the procedure twice or the test twice, and it's convenient for the patient to not have to get poked twice or stuck in an MRI multiple times. I mean, I think the question is the misaligned incentives are who makes money off of interoperability working, and it's probably not the docs. So
it's not
how do you align the incentives to pay?
Anytime the actor doesn't get benefit from the activity, it is really hard to get the action to happen, right? I mean, it's if the actor isn't going to get benefit. So I think it's really hard. Like I think the ED doc values query. Okay, the ED doc, like, what the hell's wrong with this patient? And they value that. But they don't value the multi-specialty practice has an in-house lab. They don't value getting labs from the recent inpatient encounter. No way. They want to send the lab, want to do the lab down the hall. And it's just, this stuff is, the incentives are still so misaligned.
Yeah. Well, I think Scott is kind of doing the intro for Yubin Park.
Yeah, he's doing the intro for Yubin Park, PhD. So so thank you, Scott. Thank you, Michael. We're gonna send you guys
PhD, pretty hard diploma, stands for that.
Back to my
that's
ice,
right.
Back to my ice cave. Thank you.
All right, see ya. Enjoy Iceland, Scott. See you soon, Michael. Keep corresponding. And yeah, let's bring on our real live actual guest, Yubin Park, who is in Atlanta. And so, Yubin, will you please introduce yourself for our loyal fans, several of whom appear to be here just for you?
Oh, really?
We've got some got some new ones. Yeah.
No,
so introduce yourself.
No, thanks a lot. So till actually 30 minutes ago, I didn't know what I was going to talk about, and you mentioned that I'll be talking about the value-based care. Actually, for the
we can talk about whatever you want.
I
mean, let's be clear.
Backstage, I was kind of debating, what should I talk? And actually, I don't know what to.
Well, you can say whatever you want, but we do want to know: is value-based care real? Like, as in, does it work?
Yeah, I think so. But let me actually get back to my intro a little bit. So
good idea. Yeah.
So I had nothing to do with healthcare before. I studied machine learning from UT Austin. Then met a wife who is not a Korean. And by the way, I'm Korean. I was born and raised in Korea. Came to the US to get my PhD and go back. Then met a wife who's American, and got a lost a ticket to go back to Korea. So I needed to stay needed to stay in the US.
For worse reasons.
Yeah. So my wife actually still had about a year left in school. So I decided to do a startup. I was already a kind of poor graduate student. I couldn't be poorer. So I thought the startup was not a bad option because I had nothing to lose. I didn't know anything about the business, but I was just reading about different things, and actually around those days were I think still Anish was kind of the White House or something like that, and
Anish always comes up. He's always here. always with us.
That's right. A lot about data was coming up from the government, and especially kind of health data was coming out. I thought maybe I can do something with those data because I studied machine learning, and to do some business with my degree on it, I felt like I needed the data, and I think there was a mistake. So I studied business in healthcare, thinking that I could utilize those open data. I think it was about 10 years early. Nope. So maybe.
Nice try.
I needed to do something that makes money. So I switched to risk adjustment. So to pay the bill, which actually was okay. So I ran the business about 3 years in Austin. That company was sold to Avalon Health in DC. So I was there about a year. Came out and did another startup. This time I did business for Medicare ACOs. So then did some analytics work for ACOs. Then the company was sold to ApolloMed. Now they changed the name to Astrana. So that kind of makes up my kind of career throughout about 10 years of this. My gig in healthcare. I looked at a lot about different kinds of healthcare data. I did some Medicare Advantage work and the Medicare ACO work. And I know a little bit different subjects in value-based care. Deep. Yep.
She's getting interrupted by a very.
I'm sorry. My son wants to know if his little friend can come over, and I guess the Health Tech Talk Show is just a part of his life. So anyway, moving on.
No problem at all. That's my intro. These days actually I came out from my full-time job at Astrana. So yeah, I've been doing this Mimi Labs. I've been just extending my hobby of looking at a lot of these open data. So that I've been looking at the open data for about 10 years. I couldn't do business with open data 10 years ago. So yeah, I'm thinking that maybe I can do now. So I don't know. So that we'll see. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow. So that's like a pretty good, like very humble sounding, badass multiple exit story. Like first, like there's some great lines here. Like the first one is, I couldn't be any poorer. So like, why not? And then I needed to switch to risk adjustment to pay the bills.
Yeah, you gotta pay the bill, and yeah, that's kind of where all the money is. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. God bless America. Okay, so you've been so tell us about the open data thing before we ask you to tell us if bio-based care is real. Like
Yeah.
clearly you made money off of it. You got companies sold to all kinds of groups. But the open data? What's the argument there, and why do you think why now? Like, what's up?
So yeah, I think
More data.
about 10 years ago, I think those are the days actually a lot of data something.gov sites were coming out. So the data.cms.gov,
Healthdata.gov.
Yeah, that's right.
I know all about
And
it.
the few data sets were uploaded, and the people are very excited about it. Datapalooza, Health Datapalooza was such a big event back in the days.
Was such a big deal.
Kat knows because she was the one of the organizing chairs this year.
Oh, so that's how we met. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was there 10 years ago, and it was a gigantic event back
Yeah,
in the
it was really big.
But yeah,
Yes.
I think those are the kind of days actually data were still kind of coming out, and the people quite couldn't know how to use the data. And I think also on the government side, they didn't know what data can be put out. I think over the 10 years, I think a lot of back and forth. And what I realized these days is actually there are a lot more data available. One good thing about the CMS is I think they did a lot of good things, but the one good thing I think remarkable is that they've been putting out a lot of data. So not just CMS and CDC, FDA, and a lot of government agencies, I think they put out a lot of data available, which actually used to be available only to those kind of small network companies. Actually, if you just try to figure that out, with a bit of effort, and nowadays actually Cloud and ChatGPT know a lot of these things about it. So just ask, and if you want to do it by yourself, a lot of those things that you can do without the vendor's help.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
In the end, now actually, skill set and technology and data will become very, very cheap. It's a matter of whether you have an intention or not doing by yourself. I thought actually open data actually as long as there are those people who have intentions to do things by themselves, I think there are a lot of things you can do with it. So I've been curating a lot of open data in a little bit convenient to use. So because still open data, you need to download those files to your computer. Those files are not small, and sometimes it's very difficult to deal with. So I thought that maybe one thing I can contribute to the community is maybe I can just download them all and process them into a data warehouse and open the data warehouse to everybody. So what that means is actually everybody just come in and they just query by themselves, and they run the queries or build a model and all those things, and they can take it out. So that's kind of something I thought I could add a bit of value to the market.
Very cool.
And so you're basically trying to create like a lightweight structure around this to make it easier for other people as well to access the same open data resources that you've already identified, or the ones that have been developed over the last 10 years.
That's right. A lot of those things I've been using for my own thing, own startups, and for the companies I used to work for. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Well, that is cool, and that's like kind of sexy, and sounds like someone will buy that up pretty soon. Like, seems like that's your move. That's like your go-to plan. Okay. No, but we really need to know, because last week we were talking about a new study that came out. I can't remember whose it was, but that said value-based care or Medicare or MSSPs are ACOs are saving $100 bajillion. And Lisa was like, bullshit. So like, what's the story? Like, is that real? Is that just like a great way of doing math, like I would for a press release, or like, tell us more.
So the you know,
I feel like he's taking some time on this. I feel like
we don't know too much detail exactly about what they are referencing the numbers, but I cannot tell. But in the end, this is something what we call technical term of counterfactual.
Mhm.
So they are already kind of in the value-based care program, and what they are most likely what they are comparing against is the benchmark, which is the number that the CMS put it out, that the actually sounding number that actually will be like that. A lot of times those forecast is not the real number. So but statistically, I think it has a lot of backing, meaning that it's a grounded. They use all the methodology to project the number, and if you actually achieve the spending before below the benchmark, I think they have some reason to say that we saved some money. But whether actually that money is the kind of real dollar you saved or not, it's still debatable. But I think in a scientifically or kind of mathematically, it has some meanings. But
it does. But
let's be clear. That's some meaning.
No, it does. But the CMS actuaries are like, a couple people and a bunch of government contractors who are, like you said, creating your data. Yes, that's right, Blake. Who are creating like there are things that go into their actuarial calculations that might not make sense to the average Joe who like learned how to do arithmetic back in like 1983 or whatever.
Yeah.
It just there's a lot.
That's like me.
To say that those decisions are like they're the decisions that go into those calculations are like everything in healthcare and in data, actually political decisions. I don't mean that in a negative way. They're just policy and political decisions to say, this is how we calculate what we think Medicare is going to spend. And when they say savings, like we saved Medicare $2 billion, that means that they came in lower than the benchmark, basically, right? Like that's what they're saying. And it's just, there's a lot of stuff in the sausage factory of making that projection that normal people wouldn't understand because it's a complex actuarial projection, right?
So
doctor of data science, tell me more.
What I usually kind of think of it as, it's like an earnings call. A lot of times you do a forecast.
Right?
We're
gonna do great. Our projections are solid.
We got this.
Another variable looking at things is Lisa has a point. So the methodology and the data behind can be a bit more transparent. Kind of the how they got to that number and the exact what methodology. Kind of if they use the how they really came about those numbers. Kind of probably. Those things may come out at some point. I think CMS has been releasing a lot of methodology one by one. I think those are not quite there as far as I know. But as those things come out, I think maybe then all sorts of people can do their own projections. Then I guess, yeah.
But so like I appreciate that companies who will remain nameless. I did call them out last show, who have raised a ton of venture capital and like obviously want to get a return, are looking to say, what we do, our work saves Medicare $1 bazillion. And my point is like, I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. It's not so straightforward. And, I love saving money for sure, but it doesn't mean that we have more money to spend now on Medicare. It doesn't mean like, oh, good, we save money so we can spend it more on prevention or vaccines or whatever. Like, no, that's not how it works, right? We are desperately trying to cover everyone we can cover. And, dealing with, as Scott was just saying, the back and forth between Medicare, fee for service, Medicare Advantage, and, some concerns there. The problem is that money that you save, may just wash up in someone's profits. I don't know.
No, I think money that we save currently is just kind of elongating the next tax increase. I think I think we are facing all the.
Look at this guy.
Yeah.
Your favorite topic.
Oh my god! I hate taxes except when they're lower. So yeah, it's like not my favorite. Okay, so all this AI stuff, right? Like it seems like you know what you're doing. You can find your way around data over here. Like and it feels like you've been on trend with a lot of your companies. Like you were the right place, right time. You did cool stuff. How do you see things going for this concept you have now with open data? With who knows what's going to happen with AI? We got Elon Musk. We got regulation, deregulation. Like, what do you think is going to happen?
I don't know. I really don't know much about the policy and how those things will affect. But yeah,
smart. That's a smart thing to say on this show.
No. But yeah, I use AI a lot by myself as well. So regarding the open data, processing it, finding where the data is, analyzing some of those things. I use AI a lot, almost every day, and actually, I think some of the vendors I use, I think they classify me as a super user. I use so much, so but the sad thing is actually, I think it will actually affect more than I think the workforce more than anything else. I don't think it's actually rather about the it's not about the healthcare workforce. I think in the end there are a lot of physical work to be done. So those things, unless a robot come out, I think those will be there. I think what will change is actually more on the desk job. So the people who do not need to actually work, with your bodies and all those, I think people like me actually. So who's sitting behind the desk and just doing all the coding while documenting and all those things. I think AI is already better than me, and it's a very, very difficult to hire any juniors actually at this point. Because most likely actually a lot of qualities of work they produce will be either par or subpar than AI. And I think healthcare, maybe a back office, not just healthcare. I think in general, kind of a lot of industries. I think AI will just impact the workforce quite a bit. Yeah.
I mean, I think the quality behind that is pretty debatable, right? Like Google released some weird stat. They're like, look how much of our code is generated by AI. And we're like, first and foremost, like if your code, like for you to be Google and your code base to be so changeable that you actually are writing a ton of new code right now, that'd be concerning. You would need to have a stable architecture to run your basic services. And the idea that you're like writing all of this code, what does the code do for what, when, where, how, why? AI might be able to replicate some things that people have done in the past, because of course that's how it works, is replication. What else?
Yeah, so sorry, Lisa, but what I actually usually make an analogy is when you do cooking, and AI is helping out a lot of prep work. In the end, you're still a chef, but it's that you are actually buying a food processor and a lot of cooking machines that actually do a lot of job for you. So and then you can say 20% of my cooking was done by AI. So because a lot of prep work is done by the senior guys.
You need to be the director and the architect for it to actually work together right now. Maybe that will change in the future, but right now you've got to do a lot of architecting and cleaning and curating to make it actually work.
Yeah.
So you're still needed.
So what do you think, like in our industry, at least in healthcare land, like what's the biggest misconception about open data that you come across?
So there are a few. Actually, open data has a bit of this reputation of a tragic of commons. So it's kind of already available to everybody. So the people view it as it doesn't have any value. And somebody else will work on it, so I don't need to work on it. Type of kind of viewpoint. And another misconception is that there are a lot of companies who actually make tons of money just using open data too.
Yeah.
Really?
Very, very kind of distant viewpoints. One is kind of it doesn't have any value, but there are a lot of companies who actually make a lot of money using open data. So
Like how much money are we talking here?
There's some
Like a lot.
I mean, I cannot name, but kind of some are like.
I'll name. This is me. Microsoft makes a ton of money based on open data and also things that are maintained by the open source community. And the open source community, the open source maintainer community, is actually super toxic because you have companies who make billions of dollars being pissed off at these like a couple people who are really highly technically skilled open source maintainers for a particular data set or a particular tool or utility. And the company's making $1 billion and there's like these people in this little community who are like, this is broken. And it's like, that's why that meme, you've seen Jamie's image meme that as like all the pieces of health data that's held up by, it's a whole complicated Rubik's Cube thing that's held up by one little thread of like one person in a random community, in a random university who's like maintaining one critically important utility for like the entire internet.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
That's right. Scary.
Yeah.
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 But there's money to be made, which is good to know.
Yeah, no, I think at this point we already know with the kind of OpenAI made it famous. Open doesn't mean free. So
that's very true. Very true. Very true.
Data is not quite free. So in the end, there are a lot of other work to be done to actually make it useful. But when that work is done, I think there are a lot of value in it. But it's very difficult to put the extract the value and prove the value. It needs a lot of education. So I think that's a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. So we came on here and ambushed you, and you didn't get to actually talk about anything you wanted to talk about. With our last 3 minutes, is there anything you want to actually tell our loyal fans?
No,
we can keep asking you questions. Don't worry.
No, thanks for inviting me. Actually, because of this, actually, I'm ashamed to admit, but because after you invited me to the show, then I subscribed on the YouTube.
Most of our loyal fans are on the LinkedIn, because we're trying to keep it a low budget. So
perfect.
I listened to many of the kind of episodes, especially the recent one. It was great, and I actually wish many more people know about this, and
me too. And that they would send us sponsorship checks also. That'd be great. Yeah.
We have kind of two kinds of shows, or sometimes two kinds of shows inside one show. And that is that we talk a lot about health data and interoperability because of our work backgrounds, but we also work with and get to talk to like really interesting health tech innovators. And we do both. And I think that shows sort of our bias of believing that health data is critical for health technology innovation. Yeah. And we don't say it like in an obvious way, like I'm saying it now, but maybe we should a little more, because all the stuff that you're working on, the things you're working on with Mimi Labs and, making those open data sets more available, that should drive to a lot more health tech innovation, right?
I hope so too. So something that I can be proud of maybe 10 years later. So
and just in case anyone wants the link to send us money, we have a Stripe account, and it's on the internet, and then you can go there anytime. You can send us as much money as you want.
Run a big health tech company. You can support us. You just gotta big health tech companies. Feel free to sponsor us. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, we have opinions over here, but thank you for coming to the show and telling us cool stuff. We have been told probably for the past year, why don't we have this guy on the show? I think it took us drinking in DC at Health Data Palooza. It's revival show because we were involved, obviously, to make it happen. So you're awesome. Where can loyal fans find you? I know you're on the internet.
I am very active on LinkedIn. So any message, any messages, on LinkedIn, I respond fairly quick. I do LinkedIn so much that my kids think LinkedIn is my full-time job.
That's like Kat. You and Kat are the same person. That's amazing. No.
Yeah. There have been some times that my boys did think that I owned LinkedIn, but that is absolutely not true. This show would have higher production value if that was true. Anyway, all right. Well, hey, Yubin, thank you for coming on the show. And America, we're gonna move forward. It's gonna be okay. Yeah, like it's gonna be fine, right, Lisa? Like we're gonna move on forward.
I guess.
Whichever way forward is, maybe it's this way. We'll figure that out too. And then on we go. So thanks to Scott, Yubin, and Michael for coming on the show and tell us what you think. I'm sure we will have many more weeks of incredible predictions that will fall through about what's next for the administration. So, yep.
Yeah, and also I think do check out as much as you can handle of our live show from Wednesday. There were some really super cool companies like shout out to Kismet Health. They were awesome, and also
they were really cool.
Sierra and Christy. So many great people. Sober Sidekick, You Are Accountable. Really cool companies coming out of
Daybreak Health. Yeah, we had some cool ones on there. So Yeah. And then we had, of course, the Jamie Belcito from the Maternal Mental Health Alliance, who had a lot of things to say. She was great. So, okay. Well, good night, America. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Oh, no, will we? We will. Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Probably, yeah. Soon.
Probably.
Bye, everyone.